Pro teams gives team leaders the ability to set their organization up any way they choose. And our profitability's never been greater. Our revenue's never been greater. Our rev share's never been greater. It was a good move.
Dave Keener, what's up, man?
Katie Day, everything. I'm really busy. This is awesome.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have a convo. Your journey is very interesting. So I always love chopping it up with you and talking real estate and talking all the things. But today we're talking about real. How long have y'all been here now?
2 years and 2 months.
Crazy. It feels like just yesterday
that
you moved. For someone that's listening that doesn't know you, Reader's Digest version of like, how'd you get into real estate? How'd the team start? And then what was the kind of move to real? What about
I got into real estate because I retired. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started some businesses and sold them and did some philanthropic work and moved from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania down here to North Carolina to retire, enjoy the warmer weather, bought a lot of property and had its own lake on it and everything else. But I got really bored after 6 months and tried the golf thing. It didn't stick with me, but long story short, I wanted to get into an industry that I felt was underserved, was antiquated, where I could make an impact and take some of my learnings and passions for technology and apply it. Most importantly, I wanted to build something really big. But I was also smart enough to know I didn't want to become a brokerage and deal with all the issues of legal liabilities, accounting and finance and all that other stuff on that kind of scale. I want to just focus on growth, and profitability and things like that. So I knew right away I needed to build a team.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago.
Crazy, right? And so your team is a little bit different, or it looks a little bit different than the average team. It was that way from the beginning though, yes?
It sure was. Since day one, we wanted to be an organization that was not just owned and operated by one guy.
Yeah.
We wanted to build an organization. There is no other team that I know of that's structured like us, but we are member owned, member operated, and every agent here is my partner, my business partner, and they have equity in everything that we do. So with every joint venture, with title or escrow, or a technology investment, or an investment in an apartment complex, everybody owns a piece of it. And what that does is it tremendously helps with, retention. And most importantly, we're on a journey. And we're getting somewhere. And if one of those sell, everybody participates or benefits from it. So yeah, that's, again, day one, we were set up to do that and be different. We also did not want to be a team that was primarily centered on handing out leads, where they take 50% of your commission and leaving very little for the agent to have, So we instead incorporated a heavy amount of resources, whether it's technology, people, processes, training, and coaching, all those things. We want agents to be self-reliant. Not saying we don't provide leads, but yeah, that's what sets us apart, is that we're hyper-focused on creating and building up self-sustaining, independent real estate professionals, and along the way, giving them a piece of the equity.
Well, how many agents do y'all have right now?
Approximately 270, and
across
we're in 30 states now.
That's crazy. So when you came over, do you remember you guys were in like 20 something states then, right?
Yeah, we had 20 states when we moved. We were at a large brokerage 2 years, 2 months ago. We actually had about 280, 82, something like that. And when we made the move, decided to make the move to real, we anticipated there was going to be some loss. About a third is what we anticipated. And sure enough, it came down to exactly 33.4% of our roster stayed there.
Yeah.
And that was okay. That's healthy. It's honestly healthy. It actually boosted us up because it took less than a year to get back to where we were. And we did so with higher caliber agents, and our profitability's never been greater. Our revenue's never been greater. Our rev share's never been greater. It was a good move.
What does that look like, making a move? Because I think I could tell you all of the things not to do, right? I could tell you all the things that I've seen go wrong, as far as like people talking to too many people over too long of a period of time, or talking too slowly, or like doing different things that then result in people leaving their group, right? People leaving their team. And so having almost 300 conversations and you're across multiple states, you have different levels of agent because you have people that are kind of running regions, and then you have agents that maybe recently joined. Like, how do you navigate that when you have such a big group?
Man, that's a really good question that's never been asked before. When we made the decision that where we were at over 2 years ago, that it probably wasn't the best fit for what our goals were, what we were trying to do as a team for agents, it took me still another 6 months to do due diligence across this entire industry, every brokerage, every cloud brokerage, every office brokerage, you name it. And after I narrowed it down or honed it in to real, I then started talking to what I wanted was a 25% sampling of my higher producing agents and team leaders to get a good idea of how many would come with me. And it was crazy. Almost every single one of them said yes. But then on that day that announcement was made, there was a lot of counter offers, hey, we'll give you commission free if you stay here. You don't pay any splits or cash.
From your previous brokerage.
Yeah, previous brokerage. Yeah, right. So I guess the sampling is what was important. And it came back with, it gave me enough confidence that if we make this move, which was in their best interest, that we were going to be stronger on the other side, those who came with us. That was step number one. Step number two was an assessment. I mean, at the time we had over 300 transactions on the books. That's never easy, Now we made the move in January when deals were down, but we still had 300 transactions. And being in 20 states at the time, well, each state is governed differently, and they all have a different managing broker, and they ultimately get to make the final call. But I will tell you, the brokerage that we were at did a wonderful job transferring every transaction. Nobody got greedy. It was very fair. They were wonderful. It was very professional. And 100% of the transactions made its way over to real, rightfully so, to the agent.
So I'm hearing that you had conversations with a decent amount of agents, right? And so like, obviously those are the people that have been with you the longest, the highest producers, like your trusted confidants, right? That, aren't immediately just going to be like, oh my God, this is happening, and tell everyone. Cause you're just like, hey, I want to like take a temperature, see what the thoughts are. Then when you went out to the entire group, right? I mean, cause effectively like you have a brokerage, you don't have a brokerage, but you got a brokerage, right? Your mega team. Was that a, hey, we're having an all hands meeting, or how did you kind of disseminate that down?
Oh man, good questions. So ironically, it was on January 3rd, and it was an all hands on deck monthly member meeting. And specifically, we marketed it such that this is a review of last year. And this is a review of what our objectives were a year prior and whether or not we hit them. And I opened it up with, look what we did, look what we accomplished. We're number one in the world at this large brokerage. We're number one mega team. And I said, but we still fell short. Where did we fall short? In getting more money in your pockets and some other things. And so that being said, I created a grid. These were the objectives. These are the ones that we missed. So my job as the CEO is to make sure that I align our organization with another organization to make sure that we don't miss that next year. That being said, I've made a decision, and I'm hopeful that the majority of you guys agree with me that it's time to make a move, one that better fits what we're trying to do for you with us collectively as a team. And that's when I laid it out, made the news, we're making the move, laid out exactly what that meant for them. And overall, everyone was ecstatic.
Yeah. Well, and I think that just knowing you and knowing some of the stuff that y'all do, like you have annual summits, you have meetings throughout the year. A lot of times I've heard like brokerages, especially like when brokerages get acquired, they like call a company meeting and they're like, oh, this is like our annual celebration awards. And then like everyone gets there like all excited to like get a plaque. And they're like, actually, we just got bought out. And it's like a complete bait and switch. And so like having an all hands on deck meeting or having a thing like seems very in alignment with what you guys normally do, right? And like the things that like, hey, we're reviewing numbers. Hey, you guys are all part of this, and you kind of laid out the opportunity, which I think is very important. Because oftentimes people like especially larger groups, like I would say 20 to 50 or more, they're like, they draw it out far too long. They're like, well, we're thinking about this. And then like 6 months later, they make the move. And at that point, their people are like, well, what are we doing? Like, are we doing this? Or are we not? Like, what's happening here? The other thing that you mentioned was like the transition of pending deals and listings and all that. And so, I would always advise you to check your ICA and see what your ICA says. And then like you said, the biggest thing is like ultimately it comes down to the state broker, like especially if you're across multiple states or you're at a national brokerage, like the state broker is the one that like has to sign off to release them to a new brokerage.
100%. That's right. Good advice. Check the ICA.
You've now been here for 2 years. One of the things that I would love to touch on is pro teams. And so I've talked about pro teams some in like a video that I've done about teams at Real. And, I kind of just laid out that you can have, different caps, fee structures, depending on agent, depending on deal type, depending on like kind of whatever you want. And you can set defaults and then make adjustments for each thing. Pro teams was basically made because and for y'all, because you have so many different types of structures. So I guess if I had no idea what pro teams was, can you explain it to me like I'm 5?
Sure. Pro teams is a very customizable platform that's built within Reason, which is the platform for all agents that shows your rev share, your transactions, your listings, basically your stock, everything all in one place. But pro teams gives team leaders the ability to set their organization up any way they choose. For example, at Premier, that's the name of our group, our team, we wanted to impose a team cap, meaning we could only make so much from our agents because we have agents making over $1 million a year in commissions. And even if we had a split of 20%, we cannot earn $200,000 of their income. No matter what tools.
I mean, you can, but
I don't know. Seriously, approaching $250,000 in value. No, but we do believe that we're providing through the opportunities, the coaching, the tool sets, we do believe we're providing a substantial amount of value, but we put a cap in place and we said 20 grand that now has been lowered to $18,000.
Okay.
That system allows us to do it. The other thing this does and allows is, do I want to pay the caps to the brokerage from my splits? So if I'm on an 80-20 split and I owe the brokerage or the agent owes the brokerage 15%, I can actually opt in and say, of my 20%, I want 15 of it to go to Real, meaning I'm only making 5%.
Yeah.
But what that does for the agent is they don't get a split with the team, then a split to the brokerage, making it a 2-line commission disbursement, your overall percentage, and then maybe an admin or a file fee. That's it.
Yeah.
Most teams at most brokerages, not possible. There's one to the team, then maybe some miscellaneous fees, one to the brokerage, maybe some miscellaneous fees. There could be like 5-6 different line items that agents look at and go, my gosh, paper cuts, right?
Yeah.
So that's just 2 examples. But like you said, Katie, we have a default templated system when you join the team. But if I bring on a powerhouse or something like that, and I wanted to reduce the cap to something different or unique or change the splits, I have full authority and ability to do that, unlike other systems.
Well, and I mean, I think that the caveat to that, or the flip side to what you're saying, is like also if you don't do that and you don't pay your caps or you don't pay your fees for your agents, like it is broken down very straightforward. And like sometimes there are a lot of different things because it's like pre-cap, post-cap and stock purchase program and all of these other things that like Real has. But like it's very easy to see, like if it's a $10,000 commission split in half, here's $5,000, here's $5,000, and then like here are all of the fees. At previous brokerages that I was at, it was like freaking calculus to do math to figure out why $5,000 went down to like $3,675. Like you couldn't figure it out,
Yeah. Pro teams, one of the things that was really important before we made the move was I needed a different kind of system to manage our team. And I said, transparency is really important to me. I want the agents to be able to see without a degree, who got what.
Yeah.
And they built it and it's beautiful and it's easy. That's the most important thing. It's easy.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone if they were looking to move their brokerage or team to Real?
Well, you already nailed some of it. Look at your ICA Make sure that, if you're a big team and you got hundreds of transactions, make sure it's an easy transition. And again, most brokerages, everyone's operating professional. The CEOs know each other. They're not going to operate in a unhandy kind of way. The big advice is make sure you look at the systems, because make no mistake, there's a change happening in this industry at a very alarming rate. And teams are going to have to get more aggressive. They're going to have to sharpen the pencil a little more. They're getting wrapped up in this commission compression thing. And AI, let's face it, AI is actually doing a lot of the support and services that a team can do for agents. It's true. So that's where they're going to have to sharpen that pencil. You're going to need to align yourself with a brokerage that gives you those flexibilities and those freedoms to do that quickly and on the dime. That's probably advice number one. Make sure you line yourself up with also a brokerage that doesn't just give you that, but additional opportunities, whether it's through joint ventures with a established title company. Because again, if there's commission compression, you better find other ways of adding revenue to your bottom line. But yeah, there's one real title, there's one real mortgage. Make sure you have partnerships with warranty companies. I mean, the list is long, because you're going to have to replace some of the margins that are going to get stripped out by being competitive, which you're going to have to do. That's the best advice I can give you right now.
I think for a lot of brokerages that want to make a move, they look at their current numbers, and especially if they're a broker owner, and like, I make 100% or I make this. And then coming over here, sometimes the initial shock of like today's numbers to moving over to real today, like, doesn't necessarily make sense. Right. So think about it this way. Like, if an independent brokerage owner was listening to this, right, and like their agents are on a 90-10, right? So they get 10% of every deal. Coming to real, it's like, when you look at like A and B, the it doesn't always pencil out, right? The napkin math doesn't always work.
Sure.
So like, what advice do you have as far as like the long-term potential of being at real versus running an independent brokerage where, yes, you may be making more money per transaction and you make 100% on all of your deals? So what do you think?
Once upon a time, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were an independent brokerage as well. And it was the worst time of our history, honestly, because I was spending my time making sure the managing broker was in place. The managing broker was making sure our agents were compliant. Then we had the accounting measures, that had to be in place to make sure commissions were distributed. Then you've got escrow concerns. I mean, the amount of transaction coordination that goes into just processing one deal, the overhead associated with being an independent brokerage, the headache of making sure all those critical parts are in check before you get a letter in the mail for non-compliance. It is not worth the headache. And I mean, at real, the cap's $12,000 a year for an agent. My gosh, that's nothing. Stack that up to what it would cost to hire one managing broker and maybe an accountant or two, because you can't stop if one goes on vacation, and admin to make sure the files are being come on, you're in six-figure land easily. You're at $250,000 just to have the doors open to do it correctly. $12,000 times the number of agents, piece of cake. Oh, and by the way, being a part of a big brokerage, you get opportunities like I just talked about. You get rev share. I haven't even mentioned that yet. My gosh, I've made $250,000 in rev share since I've been here.
Yeah.
Doing not a whole lot, just being us, and other agents say, I want to be a part of that too.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anything else that you want to touch on before?
You said a word, opportunity, and that's the number one word here at Real. It's opportunity, an opportunity to manage your team as you see fit, an opportunity for your agents to make more doing the same thing they're doing, an opportunity to supplement their income through a number of different ways, an opportunity to be part of a culture that's true. I mean, we coined the phrase, and I hear a lot of people, I'm taking credit for it. It was my daughter who said it too, when I told her, why are we making the move? And I said, honestly, it's about collaboration versus competition. Because where we were at, it felt like there was a lot of competition amongst different groups within the brokerage. And I said, I want to be part of an environment where there was more collaboration.
Yeah.
So collaboration versus competition sounds pretty easy to me. And I said that to Mir and Sharon and others. I don't know if I coined it or not. I never heard it.
So you're saying that's, yeah. I mean, I feel like I could maybe look to see a post from like more than 2 years ago where I had written that.
Look it up. Look it up. I don't know.
I'll come with receipts, man. I'll
do it. I want to see it. If you said it more than 2 years ago, I will absolutely admit.
I'm not saying that it was like my, my thing. I'm not saying that I coined it.
But it's important. Katie, you and I are on here right now.
No, so
we're not even related. We're not in the same network.
We're not even related.
We're friends. We give each other hugs at conferences and events. We're part of a collaborative on different things, and we love it. It doesn't exist everywhere.
Well, so let's actually talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk about silos versus the one real community, because there are a lot of people that'll say that like that is not true, that the one real community doesn't actually exist, that it makes more sense to have silos where I can offer you something to join me at my brokerage, right? And you've been in both, you've had both. And, I think that everyone that I know that has come from a world where they were the value prop to now where they can be part of the value prop is like, no, hands down, this is better. But like, I'd love to hear it in your words of like why you feel this way.
No, the truth is here, it is a collaborative environment, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, they're the only cloud. Well, another one has said they do it now too, but co-sponsorship. Okay. They were the first to say, you know what? Let's give agents an opportunity, not name one person as their sponsor who has a duty to make sure that you're supported, that you're not on an island and things like that. They, Tamir, the CEO, holds that very seriously, but you can name a couple people that aren't in the same network. And now you're getting 2 times the amount of support, attention, love, care, all that stuff. And what that does is it creates a family, of cousins. Everyone's related to someone somewhere just through those connections, because you're naming 2 people, and those 2 people have uplines and different things. And what was the other part of that question? I love Real's very strict policy of not being allowed to offer something in exchange for having your name put down on that piece of paper. I love it. You do have a duty. You have to offer them something. And that's, like I said, support, some care, outreach, and things like that, especially during the onboarding process. How's it going? What can I do? How can I help you? And then along the way, celebrating when they cap, all those different things. When you're giving something for that name, and it's happened to me, most of the time it doesn't hold true. They're there for the first couple minutes and nothing. Nothing. It's really unfortunate. And look, I'm part of different collaborations and groups that I'm not even in their network. And they're like, come on over. I'm happy, come on aboard. And that's pretty cool. I'm friends with a lot of people at Real, and there's no benefit or value to that happening. For them to reach out to me. It was really cool. When I made the move, I'll leave it with this. I was overwhelmed with the number of, direct messages on Instagram, Facebook, text messages, everything else from all over Real. Again, there was no benefit to them, not direct anyways. We might have spiked the stock price a little bit. And that was pretty cool to see. But at the end of the day, they were truly there and excited because we were coming aboard this train, to get bigger. And my gosh, we were only back then, I think, 12,000 agents, 14,000, I don't even remember, but now we're at 32,000 agents in just 2 years. It's crazy and growing.
Yeah, no, I love it. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you for hopping on. I know that you are a very busy man, so I appreciate any time I can grab with you.
Anytime, just reach out and let me know.
All right, man. Sounds good.